Well, for me, I have been a regular sauna user for a good 22 years, but it's been in my life since I can remember, you know, from going over to my friend's basement's house and having a sauna in there. Maybe that sauna was filled with clothes and storage stuff. I don't know. Sometimes it was actually in use, but the fact that they were there was cool. I grew up playing hockey, so I would go to a lot of out of town hockey tournaments, and a lot of the hotels would just have a sauna in there, and it was just fun for the guys in the team to go and engage in that. But as I got older, specifically when I was kind of done playing hockey, I really found a likening to sauna. So when I was 11, I was checked from behind playing hockey, went in headfirst in the boards, unknowingly broke my back, and it was misdiagnosed. I played for 2 years with just back pain, and just was kind of, it was growing pains, right? And then when I was 13, I had a freak ACL tear from stemming from that back injury. And then just before my 19th birthday, I tore my ACL again. So I was driving home on my 19th birthday after playing a year of junior hockey, and that was when I was permanently reintroduced to sauna. So I had to recover my body, right? So I was going to a health club, and the health club fortunately had a sauna, and it just became this consistent routine where I had to go in the sauna after working out. It just made me feel better. There wasn't a ton of education about it yet, but there was something that stuck with me where I knew that sauna was going to be an integral part of my recovery or my health and wellness or whatever that was as a 19-year-old. Sauna was there for me, right? And it was kind of ingrained in my regular practice. I became an entrepreneur at that time as well. So I grew up on a small lake in Plymouth, and with my knee surgery, I didn't want to work inside in the summertime. So I was like, gosh, I want to work outside. So I started a lake weed removal business, taking care of shorelines and aquatic plants in the water. So I had a nice little summer gig, and that paired well with my hockey pursuits. So I did go back and play hockey again, and eventually was running a high school hockey league. So I had hockey in the winter, and I had my lake weed removal in the summertime, but I had sauna year round. My injuries unfortunately crept back into my life where I saw the writing on the wall. I wasn't going to be able to do the physical nature of my lake weed removal business anymore. I needed to figure out a way to elevate out of that and kind of create a new path in life. And that was around 2013, 2014, around the same time that the Twin Cities was experiencing their craft beer boom. And I remember I went to Excelsior Brewing one day, and I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, oh, we're going to go and drink some beer, okay, whatever. But I walked into this brewery for the first time and was blown away. And I wasn't blown away by the beer, I was blown away by the community that was there. It wasn't people just going and sitting at their one table and being served and just having this, you know, very focused time. It was people milling around. They were having conversation. They were engaging with each other. You know, your seat didn't matter. If something opened up, you could just go and take another seat. And I really enjoyed that communal aspect, so much so that my wife and I would start traveling around the metro area visiting breweries. And then all of a sudden that graduated to traveling to states and cities that dominated the brewery scene. So like Asheville, North Carolina, Denver, San Diego, up in Oregon, you name it. These places, these breweries were essentially now the reasoning we were taking vacations. We were going to these cities to see these breweries and then utilizing the breweries to understand what the city was. It was a great way to connect. And the reason I bring up a lot of like the beer scene is because the Minnesota beer scene has kind of hit its peak, right? There's no longer a craft beer boom. We've kind of hit a craft beer plateau. And it's very important to pay attention from the sauna community about this, because there's a lot of do's and don'ts that you'd want to focus on. And specifically when it comes to the craft beer scene, it's very important to grow organically. When the craft beer scene was hitting in the Twin Cities area, you had everybody who was trying to chase to be the next regional brewer, right? They're trying to be the next Surly, they're trying to be the next Summit. They wanted to be everywhere. And what happens when you're trying to scale up too fast? You sacrifice on your quality. And quality is most important when it comes to an industry that is growing, right? Because if you have so many people that are trying to get into this industry because maybe they had a good experience in a sauna, maybe they see somebody else having success, they're not in it for the right reasons. They could be potentially creating a bad name for sauna in a sense. They could be referred to as snakes in the grass, what have you. People that aren't in it for the right reasons, people that are only seeing dollar signs and seeing their name all over the place, as opposed to operating with complete integrity with your process, with your progress, or with who you are, right? So I use the analogy a lot where, say let's you have like a favorite restaurant, right? Well, odds are pretty favorable that your favorite restaurant is just one place. They don't have 19 of them, right? Or they're not a large enough place where they're feeding 500 people at once. Odds are more favorable that it's a smaller place where they are able to build a sense of community with the people that are coming into their establishment. And that's absolutely huge, because what do you guys see right here, right now? Like, what would you call this gathering, right? This is the ultimate community gathering. And all of these saunapreneurs that are here are doing it right. They're here for their passion. They're here for you. They're here for the industry. And that's what helps create a healthy boom, you know, by being able to be out here and talk to the providers, having the providers engage in the same exact practice with you. How many times have you sat in a sauna with the sauna builder, right? Like, how cool is that? And that's just this unique sense of community that if we continue to grow organically, then it will sustain and continue to thrive. One thing that's really important when it comes to sustaining a healthy boom is education, right? We need to know the best, we need to know not just the way to sauna, but other options of sauna. We need to learn the history of sauna. If you're a builder, you should know your own product, but you should also know other people's products. And you should be able to, you know, sell sauna, not just your sauna. That's what helps continue to build community, is if we're all in this together. And we are all in this together because one of the just beautiful points of sauna is being in there with other people, right? Minnesota has, in particular, a huge responsibility in this sauna boom because we are considered the epicenter of the sauna boom in all of North America. I was just recently in Denver, Colorado. I visited a place called Portal Thermoculture. There's going to be one opening in Minneapolis. I highly suggest you check this out. But that was just an incredible experience where I was able to go into this space. People are talking about sauna, they're talking about community, they're talking about how their life is improving because of this practice, this modality. And then I would have an opportunity to say I'm from Minnesota, and you know, all their eyes turn over. Oh my gosh, like, what's it like? Is it great? What are you guys doing over there? It's really cool to see the interest that other people have. So even if you're not a sauna builder or in the sauna industry, you as sauna takers have a responsibility yourselves to pay homage to sauna in the right way by being a good steward of the practice for yourself and for others. You know, that's community and education all wrapped into one little bit right there. But just going back to the whole Minnesota thing, you know, wear that with pride. We're the state of hockey, but we're pretty much also the state of sauna, right? And when you're able to come to a place like this, you know, reflect on this. Let this weekend not just pass you by, right? Let this weekend be an opportunity to understand the conversations that you had, the speakers that you listened to, just how you feel in this, and spread that to others, because that's what's going to get other people to organically buy into the practice of sauna. One thing that I really hope to help introduce to the sauna community that really benefits the craft beer community is the collaboration aspect of what happens in the beer world, right? Now you see a lot of breweries will team up and they'll make a beer together, or you'll see a lot of breweries team up with another business and throw an event together. That's an amazing way to take two different sectors of people and unite them in one wonderful community gathering, right? And it could be silly, you think, where two competing businesses want to promote each other, but if you're showing support and you're working together, you're operating with integrity, it is a great way to spread sauna and to show people that are just getting into it who the leaders are. Because if you can work with another person in the industry, that means you are a leader. People will gravitate towards that naturally. One thing that's also important for you guys to be good stewards of is be impartial to the styles of sauna. Maybe you're a wood fire, maybe you're an electric, but don't talk negatively about either of those styles. They each have their own benefits, and that's where, again, education comes into play, where if you don't have a question, or if you don't know the answer to a question, find out. Ask a sauna builder, or at least provide your experience with a caveat that, hey, this is my own experience, this is why I like this, because that really goes a long way. So really, like, the biggest thing for me that I want to continue to drive home is just pay attention to the number one factor of this industry, and really that is quality. It's not just quality of the builder, it's the quality of the experience, it's the quality of how you're treating people. It's all encompassing, and there will be a time that the sauna industry will see a point where you can't just get by making a good sauna. You do have to be a good steward of the industry. You do have to bring other people together. You do have to support that community and think outside of the box when it comes to protecting this modality for years to come, so that Minnesota does remain to be the leader in North America for sauna culture. So that's really all I got here to say. Glenn reached out like 9 days ago, and it's like, as I was in the airport, he's like, hey, let's riff on something. I'm like, okay, let's, the craft beer boom, the sauna boom, like, what do you think about talking about that? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So what do you want me to talk about? Oh, just tell some stories. It'll be really good. Okay. So yeah, yeah, I'm definitely going to take questions. If you want to jump right into it, go for it.
I like the parallel with the craft beer boom and the sauna boom. I think one of the things that was interesting about the craft beer boom is if you think of Europe, they're beholden to a lot of traditions, and you can only make a beer this certain way.
The Rheingeist-Law. Yep.
And it can only be done that way. Whereas in America, when we had our craft beer boom, we innovated and we weren't beholden to those traditions. And I wonder if you see any parallels on the innovation side, or are there things that we're doing different, or dare I say maybe even better than what the traditional aspect of sauna might have been from Finland, or there's numerous countries that sauna culture.
I think we're just getting to the point where you're going to start to see builders thinking a little bit more outside of the box. If you're listening to Glenn and that panel in there, there's people that are real sticklers about the heights of things, right? But if it works for you, if it works for the space and it's crafted well and you can stand by it and with full integrity, then that's going to change the game for how saunas can be built and how the experience can be had, particularly in North America, because we are redefining what it's like to sauna. It's great to go over to Germany for Oktoberfest and experience what that is, and that's been around for years and years and years, but what we're doing over here and changing it and evolving that and giving it our own little stamp, that's going to just be the defining moment for us, and we're in it right now, so it's hard to say where that's going to go because it's happening right now. If you were to go look at all these saunas, think about the differences that they all have. They're all unique to either where they're located and who they're selling to, or the elements of where they are, you know. Some are more affordable, some are more high-end, some are more portable, some are more visual that wants you to be in nature, some are more of a, you know, a hot box where you can't see anything and you're just in there for the moment. So it's going to be amazing to see where everything goes. Yeah.
How do you balance, I came in a little late, but I know you were talking about kind of playing hockey and recovery, and with beer, I mean, the kind of balance of having to be a health and wellness, at least how you market it. I get it. I think a lot of people here get it.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing it in a responsible way, but having an association with a social and beer kind of like event, but also physical health.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
That's a very good question. For us, well, at our brewery, like last year, I created it was a sunrise wellness and dance festival. So trying to like break down these invisible barriers that prevent people from either diving into wellness or diving into a brewery, right? Because there could be a negative connotation with a brewery that produces just alcohol, right? I've got a little starter pack here. I got hop water, which is non-alcoholic. I've got THC seltzer, which I consider a health beverage personally, and then two beers, right? And I'm gonna give this 4-pack to you just because that's a good question. Yeah. But yeah, nice. So it's taken some time to make people feel comfortable, but for us as a brewery, we see the fact that drinking habits are changing, and they started to change drastically around COVID. From every type of thing in a can now, any like canned cocktails, canned seltzers, canned this, canned that. They're naming new names for things that are seltzers, right? There's so much accessibility, but then there's also the whole push to wellness. So for us, we had to diversify what we're doing. We had to put an emphasis on NA products like hop water, CBD seltzers, THC seltzers, just other sparkling water. And when we have these events where we're bringing people in, you know, we're giving them a free beverage token. You know, we're not saying a free beer token. We have kombucha on tap. We actually have more non-alcoholic offerings than we do beer offerings, and we continue to just have events that break down that invisible barrier, right? And when it comes to somebody that doesn't have an interest in going to a yoga studio or a health place, because you know that's not something they're familiar with, so they're going to this place, they feel like they see all these eyes on them because they're not there usually, right? But if you put it at a brewery, now people are seeing it happening, and it's a little bit easier for them to like cross over that hurdle if you're putting it right in front of their face in a place where they feel comfortable. So we're just continuously trying to host these mini wellness events, like we say. So it'll be like a yoga followed by a sauna with a mobile salt cave, or just unique little things like that. Any other questions?
Are you guys just in Minnesota?
We are just in Minnesota, yeah. So we're like 20 minutes west of downtown Minneapolis on Lake Minnetonka. We're also fortunate because Lake Minnetonka is the ninth largest lake in the state, but it's also the most heavily recreationally used lake in the state. So we have a lot of activity, and we're also across the street from the busiest bike path in the state called the Dakota Bike Trail. So we really lean into the active lifestyle aspect of being a brewery. You know, reward yourself. Don't come and drink away your sorrows. Make it an opportunity to like come to the brewery the same way you would come to the sauna, and that's to be communal. That's to have a good time. That's to leave feeling better than when you came. And we don't want to push overconsumption. We want to push balance, and that's kind of how we just go about it. Glenn.
So, Josh, could you expand a little bit more on your observation and your experience in the different industries, you know, the craft brewing industry, and your role in it today, and then in a very informal, direct answer is, how do you deal with the culture of the different personalities, where who's in it for the good of brewing, or the good of sauna, and then who's in it for maybe selfish reasons, and how do you navigate your interactions with the different personalities in each of these spaces?
The brewing industry is, we're fortunate that the brewing industry is so collaborative, right? But as I mentioned earlier, there's always those snakes in the grass that you don't want to get too involved with, in a sense. To navigate that, it's just really about, as I mentioned earlier, operating with integrity, being appreciative of the industry, because you can sense when somebody is genuine, and you can sense when somebody is trying to level up above you in some way, shape, or form. And through engagement with community events and collaborative events with other people in the industry, that's how you find out. That's how you weed out those snakes in the grass, right? Through experience, because there's a lot of people that can misdirect what they're trying to do. So, Leaf.
Josh.
Yeah.
How do you see in 5 years from now, maybe a couple years, how do you see this vision of yours, so that I agree with you, of the sauna and the wellness and everything collaborating with the breweries and becoming more of a, how do you see what's going to be the best way to get people there? Other breweries, other places, other sauna companies?
It starts with events like this, right? I mean, the first brew fest I ever went to is probably 15, 20 breweries like this. And I see a lot of parallels in the two. You got people sweating, you got people needing to drink water. Beer. Breweries, I think, are a low-hanging fruit for any sauna company, because breweries are typically slower in the winter time, and they could utilize their space to bring in a different type of energy into the space. The sauna might not be used all the time, but if it's there and it's creating this energy in an otherwise dormant space during the winter, you've added an element, and it's only a matter of time before it catches like wildfire. We've been doing a sauna experience for 3.5 years at the brewery, and now Prize, who's over here, they had a sauna village with Superior Sauna. Drecker out of Fargo, I know they're having a sauna, and it's just, I see it becoming this perfect little brewery accessory, right? And as long as breweries can see this and not be afraid of the fact that they're bringing wellness into a poisonous type of situation, then we can preach balance and people can understand balance a little bit more. And when you go to a brewery, maybe it's not about having a beer now. Maybe it's about just going for that communal aspect, similar to what you try to experience in a sauna. And people can become more healthy that way. You're trying to teach people how to spend their time without it being a negative vice. Isha.
What's the name of your podcast?
Oh, yeah.
Guest?
Yeah, if you want, I have a YouTube channel called Get Sweaty with Leddy, and I interview people in a sauna, the Excelsior sauna, and we talk about pain, and I just released my episode with Glenn today, so you gotta come and check that out. There was another hand out here.
How often do you have those wellness activities? Bring in saunas, bring in like the portable salt cave like you mentioned?
Yeah.
And are those dates available on your website?
Yeah, I'm just about to finalize this last one that's going to take, or this first one that's going to take place on, well, not the first one, basically once a month. We have one coming up on May 24th, June 6th, July 7th, and then our main event, Spring Park Awakening, is August 2nd. And we basically have, that starts at sunrise yoga, and then it has a bunch of different modalities, from Pilates to bar to breath work to sound healing to high intensity workouts. And then we have a vendor portion where you can come and you can partake in mobile cryotherapy, mobile sauna, mobile salt cave. You can talk to functional neurologists, functional chiropractors that, chiropractors can get a bad name for themselves, but I'd like to focus on people that have to practice with a chiropractic license. There's completely different thing than somebody that just cracks bones versus somebody that understands the necessary communication between your brains and nerves and your muscles, right? So August 2nd, come to Spring Park Awakening. You're gonna love it. Any other questions? Yeah, right there.
Great. I'm from Pittsburgh, and we're definitely behind. We're following your path, and Minnesota is definitely something we look to, which is why I'm here. We're very siloed. It's saunas, where you go, and breweries, totally separate. behaviors or functions you'll do throughout the day. But as you've seen the overlap and the collaboration, has it been the breweries reaching out to the saunas? Is it saunas reaching out to breweries? That, and then the second part of the question is, what sort of rev share, or how is the business? Is it free to pop up and then you do a rev share off the? Just curious how.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The numbers are moving.
I was reaching out to, I read the newspaper every single day and have for like 20 years. It's my thing. I first started seeing 612 Sauna Society in the paper. I thought that was cool. And then I started seeing Cedar and Stone in the paper. I thought that was cool. And then it just started ramping up. I was like, I need this. I gotta make this happen. So I started reaching out to them. I don't know what other breweries are doing. We're fortunate that we are kind of a leader in the brewing industry, so sometimes breweries will see what we're doing and reach out. So we can probably ask Prize over there to figure out what they did.
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I personally live in Duluth, microbrewery insanity. And I have reached out and developed relationships with those because they're interested, but a lot of times with small businesses, they got a lot of irons in the fire. And
yeah.
You can go in and offer that opportunity, and I've done both rev share and both. They're like, we don't want anything, we just want you here because we need business in the winter. So it's relationship building, right? And yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see it similar to how we operate with food trucks, where food trucks will pay whatever the license fee is for the city, and then they come in and they provide a benefit to us by keeping people there longer, by serving them food so they can have an additional beverage. Whereas like, the sauna, that's bringing people in, it's filling a void in this dormant space, right? Now, what would just be nothing there, now we're looking at a beautiful sauna. So there's value to that. And it's not about trying to profit off of the other company so much as it is trying to each benefit off of what each other are doing, creating that community so that people are seeing that two businesses are working together to try to create something. Yeah.
What's your soundbite for sauna owners pitching to a brewery? You kind of said a lot there, but like, what's the elevator pitch that you tell these guys? This is how you're going to pitch it to me as a brewery owner. Bring in your product.
So if I'm the sauna owner now, selling to a brewery, right?
Me as a brewery, how would you do it?
I would say
high liability. People are drinking. I don't think that's proper on my property. Like, I think that's what people are hearing. Like, how do you sell it in? That's when it's really foreign. Pittsburgh or whatever. Like, it's very foreign, right?
Well, so it's all about, you're trying to change habits, and if you are going to introduce healthy habits to your customers, they're probably going to gain a further trust in you. And if you can provide a safe, accessible thing like a sauna, that can be an easy way to do it. If I go and play hockey on Thursday nights with a bunch of guys, they're going to drink beer afterwards and essentially cancel out any health benefits that they had, right? But at a brewery, if you're a sauna owner, you could use it as, hey, this is a way for you to push your NA products so that you are highlighting a different revenue stream while providing someone a unique experience at your tap room. Now they can go there and not be focused on beer, and they can be focused on another revenue stream that you're trying to grow that is desperately needed in our society. I mean, I was just in California. The fact that I couldn't have a THC beverage was very frustrating to me because, yes, I'm a brewery owner, but I can't drink beer every day. I've had a lifetime of pain, and alcohol is a muscle irritant, and my body doesn't feel good if I have too much of it. So I need to have balance, and over time, everybody is going to get unhealthier if you're not maintaining health or striving to be healthier. So if I'm the sauna owner, I'm going to say, like, hey, this is going to create a better community for your business by providing another option other than, feeling bad, even though you think you're feeling good while you're doing it.
I found that the microbrewing community, I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
The drinking culture is like they're hiring ABVs, people are sessioning beers. It's a different culture than a bar, a tavern.
Yes.
Right? And so I've talked about that with the microbreweries. And I specifically choose those that have a chiller vibe.
Yeah, well,
and they drink afterwards. I give them a drink token to go have a beer
yep.
afterwards.
Yeah, in beer, unlike liquor, if you're going to go to a bar, you can take shots. You can go from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. Where if you're going to a bar, like a brewery, odds are favorable that you are there for conversation, and you just don't know how to have conversation without having a beer. So if you're introducing sauna in a place where people like to have conversation, now you are potentially teaching them a new way to engage socially that doesn't involve a beer. But it can still involve your own product if it's a quality NA product. Yeah.
Josh, do you have a favorite sauna company you like to work with?
I like steam rooms.
What's your favorite instrument?
Yeah. Love Excelsior Sauna.
Could you talk about mobile salt rooms? I've been in a salt room, but not a mobile one.
Yeah, this one is apparently it's the only one of its kind in the state of Minnesota. It's a company called Oasis. I can't remember how I got turned on to it, but fortunately people know that I'm really trying to bring together the wellness world. So I have people reaching out to me all the time saying, hey, this. And the guy that runs the concessions for Parlor was at some sort of charity event and saw this mobile salt cave and reached out to the guy, and he's all about it. So it's pretty cool. It's one of a kind. It's very zen inside of it. You should check it out. Yeah. Any other questions? I appreciate your time. This really picked up the second half. That was great. All right. Hopefully we'll see you all in a sauna later.